or you've gone through cancer, everything is fine, and now you are experiencing hot flashes or you're not quite well, you go to your doctor and you ask for solutions and they say, well, we can't, this is an estrogen, or they can't give you estrogen. Is estrogen good or not good for you? We don't know that. There's different, I guess we do know, but there's different opinions on this. Well, today I am so excited. It's been a couple years since she's been in the classroom. Elyn Jacobs, she's a cancer coach in New York, but you can call her at any time from any location because she works with you via the internet or Zoom or phone calls. And so today we're going to ask the question, is estrogen good or bad after cancer? So I'm looking forward to this conversation with Elyn Jacobs. Hi, my name is Lillian McDermott, and I am a certified life coach and the host of the Lillian McDermott radio show. If this is the first time you're tuning into the classroom, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening and viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. As I said before, I'm excited that we have Elyn Jacobs. She's the one I called when I've had a scare or two. I call her and she calms me down. She talks me off the ledge. She is someone that I trust and someone that I've learned wonderful things from. And I know that you will too. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that cancer coach Elyn Jacobs is here to do just that. Where are you? Where are you? Come on, come out. There
Hi.
you are.
Thank
There
you
you
so
are.
much for having me here again.
Well, I'm grateful that you're on because it's been a while. You've had a lot of things going on. You're very busy. And so it's nice to get your perspective because, I mean, first of all, let's talk a little bit about your background for people that are new to the classroom and want to learn a little bit about you. Can you share a little bit about your story and why
Sure.
you became a cancer coach?
So the main reason I became a cancer coach is because I'm a renegade and I didn't want to do everything that the doctors told me that I needed to do. And I wanted to do more than what my doctors told me to do. In other words, I wanted to do holistic means and resolve why I got the cancer, not just have surgery and move on. But then when I was, when I was stage 3, even though I did the things that they wanted me to do and other things, is other factors that we'll talk about that get involved. And so at stage 3, when they wanted me to do chemo and radiation and aromatase inhibitors, I said, absolutely not. And so, I started coaching after the first round, but for the second round, I really tried to help people to understand what it is, why does a person get cancer? And why does a perfectly healthy, seemingly healthy person get cancer? And because there's a lot of reasons, but at the same time, putting dangerous drugs into your body thinking that that is going to solve the problem, it doesn't. Nobody ever died of a deficiency in aromatase inhibitors or died from a deficiency in tamoxifen or a deficiency of chemotherapy. I mean, it just doesn't happen. So I became really on a crusade to help people to understand what is estrogen and is it our friend, and why would we want to block it? Why would someone think that they want to block estrogen? So that's, where I'm thinking I'd like to take this today, is explain to people what role does it play, and, do you really want to block it?
Yeah, I've had naturopathic doctors, Dr. Jennifer Grameth, one of them, who has spoken about the benefits of having estrogen, that there are different kinds of estrogen, and that doctors put estrogen into one category. And so she was the first doctor that I've ever heard say that. And all I hear is, nope, you can't. No, you can't. And these women they don't have any kind of hormonal therapy. They don't have anything, and they can't sleep at night. They don't feel well. They feel like they're jumping out of their skin. So when you have somebody that has had breast cancer or any form of cancer, is all cancer created equal in the sense that hormonal changes will happen after therapy or treatment?
Okay, so what I'm trying to explain is that estrogen doesn't really fuel breast cancer. Okay, it does and it doesn't. So your own estrogen, as long as you have progesterone in your body, which you're supposed to, as your own estrogen is not trying to kill you. So when you're young, you make your hormones basically out of the ovaries, and then when you become postmenopausal, you're making just a little bit out of the adrenals, not a lot, but enough. So you can still be estrogen dominant if you're not making any progesterone. Let's say you have a lifelong history of tremendous stress, you might not have much progesterone, but in general, it's not your own estrogen that we're worried about. So by blocking estrogen, that could be harmful. But let's talk about estrogen for a while. All right, so we make our own estrogen. We need that estrogen. If estrogen really fueled breast cancer, every premenopausal woman would have breast cancer. More people who are pregnant would have breast cancer. And why in the heck is it only postmenopausal women who have the most breast cancer, right? So it doesn't make any logical sense if you think about it that way. Mm-hmm. So estrogen can't be the guilty party. Who's guilty? Okay, the guilty party is the xenoestrogens that we're exposed to. Those are the bad guys. In other words, your cash register receipts, your shampoo, your body lotions, your makeup, your cleaning products. Those are the guilty parties. It's not your own estrogen. It's just not. So if we block estrogen, is that helping us after we've had breast cancer? Yes or no. So in the case of the no, which is the important one, if you take care of yourself and you are, a normal weight and you have a healthy balance of estrogen, you don't really want to block it, because what's that going to do for you? It's going to harm your heart. I mean, heart disease is the #1 cause of death for women, not breast cancer. So if you block estrogen, you're not only causing yourself a higher risk of dying of heart disease, but also, damaging your bones, bone loss, your brain health, your eye health, and a whole bunch of other things that you need to be concerned with. So it's not our own estrogen. We want to, eliminate those xenoestrogens. But at the same time, if a person is overweight and has a lot of visceral fat in their belly, then they might need to lower their estrogen, even if they're not exposed to a tremendous amount of xenoestrogens. But that's a subset of people. So if you can exercise and get rid of that belly fat, then you may not want to reduce estrogen at all. It doesn't mean you have to take an aromatase inhibitor, but you could choose it, but you could do it naturally. And, we can talk about later if you want to talk about what a person can do for natural alternatives to an aromatase inhibitor. And there's a lot of them that will help you in many other ways and basically cause you no harm.
It's interesting that you're talking about estrogens that are due to the environment, or maybe some of the choices that we're making. And then you said, well, if somebody is overweight, there may be a balance of estrogen where you may have, it's a case-by-case situation is what I'm hearing you say. Now, how do I know, or how does someone who's had breast cancer or any form of cancer, a female that is having cancer, how do they know, what kind of tests can they have to see their hormonal balance is in check?
Okay, so there is a test called the Dutch test, and it's the best test. I mean, a regular standard blood test is not going to give you enough information, but the Dutch test is going to tell you, one, if you're detoxifying your estrogen properly using it. It's a wonderful test, but, and this is a big but, people end up being permanent patients. They focus their 24/7 on making sure that they're getting the right balance, and they're getting their pathways in order, and they spend all their living life making sure and working on those pathways. So if you're the kind of person that's going to do that, then don't do the Dutch test. If you're the kind of person who's going to say, okay, so DIM works for me. Yeah, okay, I need to get my stress level. I see my cortisol levels. I see this, I see that. I can manage that. But if you're going to spend the rest of your life worrying about your Dutch test results and getting your pathways in order, that's not so very helpful. Instead, what we want to do is you need estrogen. Again, remember, estrogen, we make it, we're supposed to use it, and like a car, you change the oil, you're supposed to use your estrogen and pee it out. What happens is that the liver gets overwhelmed, the estrogen goes down, and the liver says, man, you sent me way too many things today. I'm going to send it back up through the system. So we're recycling estrogen and other toxins that the liver can't handle. So supporting the liver is extremely important, and also is maintaining the stage 1, 2, and 3 detoxification pathways, which means if you do, for example, combine something called DIM, or indole 3 carbinol, but DIM most people prefer, and you combine that with sulforaphane and calcium D-glucarate, and that completes the stage 1, 2, and 3 pathways, so that you use your estrogen, so it supports your heart and your lungs and your brain and your eyes and all the other important things that estrogen does, and then you pee it out and it's gone. Sweat it out, pee it out, whatever, but you eliminate the excess estrogen that you've already gotten the benefits from, and then you don't suffer from the negative sides of it.
Okay, so you mentioned that there were 3: DIM,
Sulforaphane, which is what you get in your cruciferous vegetables.
Okay,
But in a sulforaphane, a pure sulforaphane supplement, that's what you're getting a lot. And some people aren't going to eat pounds and pounds and pounds of
broccoli.
cruciferous vegetables,
yeah.
right? So sometimes the supplement, and it's particularly important to do this in the morning. And maybe I'm the kind of person who would eat cauliflower for breakfast, but not everybody enjoys that. And particularly broccoli for breakfast, maybe not such a big fan.
I had broccoli sprouts for breakfast this morning.
I like broccoli, but I'm saying not everybody is willing to have cruciferous vegetables for breakfast. And so you get your sulforaphane, your DIM, and your calcium D-glucarate, which, by the way, is a natural aromatase inhibitor. And all these other things play a role, but it also completes these 3 phases of the detoxification process.
Okay, so calcium D what?
D-glucarate.
Is this calcium?
No.
Okay, so it's not calcium, because
calcium.
I've been told, do not take calcium.
No,
it does not help. But this isn't calcium.
No, it is not calcium, but do not take calcium. I strongly recommend people do not do that. But this is a particular supplement, and it's very good for, like I said, it supports the liver, detoxifies the estrogen, and it also does reduce a little aromatase. So I'm not saying someone, the average American who's thin and healthy and doesn't want to take one is intentionally reducing it, but some natural things like K2 and calcium D-glucarate are going to sort of reduce your estrogen a little bit. So I guess that's a bonus for some people.
Yeah. So what are some of the signs? Let's say someone has had cancer. Now, is this only for breast cancer, or is it for any cancer and any treatment of cancer?
So we're talking about estrogen and its role, and whether it really is the enemy. So that's going to affect prostate cancer, colon cancer, but breast cancer is the big one for that, because women are the ones that are always stuck being told they have to take the aromatase inhibitor or the tamoxifen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm focusing on that, but anything that is hormone related, any of the hormone related cancers, you could kind of group in that same category.
Got it.
Estrogen doesn't play a role in other cancers, uterine cancer, yes, but any of the hormonal, as the docs like to say, the hormonal cancers, if you believe that hormones cause cancer, they don't. Of course, once you have breast cancer, you have more receptors for the estrogen. So we would like to block those receptors. And that's why they sometimes, if you're premenopausal or even sometimes postmenopausal, they recommend tamoxifen. But we don't have to take a carcinogenic drug. And yes, it is a chemo and it is carcinogenic. And some people think that it makes things worse. And it doesn't necessarily extend life. But if you consume things like flaxseed, freshly ground, tahini, which is freshly ground or ground sesame seeds, pure GMO-free organic soy, those things sit on the receptors instead of a tamoxifen. So instead of taking a tamoxifen, you could just make sure, and even if you are postmenopausal, it really doesn't hurt. It's a very good idea to be consuming these foods, because again, they're going to sit there, because as much as you can get rid of your beauty products and change everything over, and I recommend that you do, replace things with healthier choices, you still are going to be exposed through no fault of your own. So having this little safety blanket of things sitting on your receptors, is a very good idea. And keep in mind, you have receptors all over your body, not just in the breast. So, but these phytoestrogens, which doctors puts chills down their spine that you're going to eat phytoestrogens. But if you eat those, they will sit on those receptors. It's like a parking spot, right? If something is parked in front of in a parking spot, somebody else, a burglar, a bad guy, can't park in the parking spot. So we want to put as many good guys in the parking spots and to block out the bad guys.
Okay, so with that in mind, we're talking about, you know, foods that can be natural. And you mentioned soy. I have heard so many people villainize soy. And I think when you started the non-GMO organic soy, that so many people say, oh, I can't have that. Soy is really bad for you. It causes cancer, or it increases your estrogen. It's going to cause cancer. So what do you say to people that believe that?
Okay, so soy is actually anti-cancer. It's very good for you. The problem with soy is getting good soy products.
Correct.
So even if you buy organic, GMO-free tofu, it's a little processed, it's sitting in a plastic tub. Same thing with fermented soy like tempeh. It's shrink wrapped in plastic. So it's absorbing the chemicals in the plastic. Now, if you live in Japan, where they make amazing, apparently, tofu, you could probably eat that and get away with it. But soy products, absolutely no soy hot dogs, no soy patties, no soy nuggets, all of that stuff is junk. If you want to eat edamame, go for it. Fantastic. If you want to go to Japan and eat real tofu, go for it. And if you want to eat tofu once in a while because you're running out of meal options, that's okay too. But you don't want to really make a habit of it because, again, it's sitting there in the plastic. And
have they done research? Does the plastic bleed into the tofu?
Well, because tofu is so high in fat, and fat kind of draws chemicals out of plastic. So have they done studies? No, because they really won't do that, because the makers of tofu aren't going to pay for that, tell people not to eat their tofu. But if you think of it from a logical point of view, if you have a fat, just like olive oil should be, you want things in glass jars when you buy fats. Plus, containers and things like that. You don't want to store things in plastic containers. You store them in glass, right? So you make food instead of leftover. And if you're going to get takeout, one of the weird things that I do, I take my snap top glass dishes and I say, here, I'd like to have this to go, but please, I'd like you to put it in here, not in your styrofoam or your,
oh my gosh. So let's talk
aluminum
about
foil
that. Let's talk
tin.
about that. There's a lot of people that do take out and they eat their stuff from I hate styrofoam. I can't even, and people don't think anything of it. So let's talk about what styrofoam can do to the body especially when you're drinking hot coffee from styrofoam.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the old days on Wall Street. People used to like melt cheese on a styrofoam piece of plate in the microwave. Yes, a microwave too, and then put it on their like bagel or their sandwich. I'm like, okay, so how do you feel about eating that styrofoam? I mean, I don't know the exact chemicals in styrofoam, but I know that I don't want to eat it.
And it's still allowed. And it's funny because I'm not allowed to bring glass to the beach. I live half a mile from the beach. I cannot bring. So anytime that I go to the beach and I want to pack a picnic or a lunch, I need to transfer it and put it into plastic. And I think, when I walk the beach and I clean it, all I see is plastic. I see styrofoam. I see like little boogie boards and little, things that people leave behind. And I'm thinking that is more damaging to our environment than glass is. I know that we have to take something, but it's like everything is upside down, Elyn. It's
It
like
is upside down, right?
And
Yeah,
I
the
just
glass
don't.
is perfect, but they're afraid it's going to break. But it's not really going to break crashing onto the beach. It's not. So
No, it's
the glass,
soft.
right? We're getting a little whacked here with this environmental stuff because the glass is better, and you can do a lot of things with glass. And when people take plastic and they want to recycle it into clothing, well, there's a good idea. Let's wear our plastic water bottles on our body. Boy, it's dangerous to drink out of, but instead we should wear them.
What are people thinking, right? And it's like, okay, let's save the economy. Let's wear the plastic. It just doesn't make sense. But I believe with enough programming and enough, marketing, I guess it sounds really good. And so we can't just look at the marketing. We have to go beyond the marketing. What are they trying to sell us, and what is the truth behind the sale? And so when we look at, and I hate bringing plastic, so I have stainless steel glasses that I bring. I have, other things. I wish I had a stainless steel container that I could, bring but they don't fit into my cooler.
You
So
know, they make these little stainless steel wine glasses with a plastic top on top of
yeah,
it,
yeah.
and you could put your food in that
See,
and
I
bring
don't
your
have the top on those. I have a lot of those because I want to make sure that I protect the environment and I'm not drinking out of plastic. So whatever you want to put into the beverage, but I never thought of putting food in it
right.
because I don't have a cap. I'm going to have to measure it and see if I can buy some caps for it.
No, that the caps come on with them, and
No,
they're
not
you
the ones I
wash
have.
them.
Yeah, the
No,
ones I
yeah.
have was before they came out, before it became it was for camping. It was for camping. And so
Right.
I bought them and I thought, oh, this is great. Now that I'm living at the beach and all that, it's a lot easier to have the stainless steel. Now, what I would like is, maybe I need to get some thermos and things like that that have the ones that have the lids on it. That would be great. So I'm going to
Yeah,
have to get creative. I'm going to have to get
and you
creative
can
and maybe get
also,
some lids.
sorry, I mean, on Amazon, I brought my son to college, like a set of bowls and has like silicone snap on top.
Mhm.
So that if you want to store your food in the refrigerator or use it as a bowl,
Mhm.
but it's stainless. So if you can't take glass to the beach, you could put it in one of those stainless steels and, make sure you sit it so that, the food stays in the bottom, you put it in the bottom of the cooler, and that would be an option too.
So you're going to have to share with me after we're done with this recording, because I am interested in that. I would get rid of, I don't have any plastic in my home. The only plastic I have is the stuff that I take to the beach.
Right.
And so that I don't, so if I can get this, a name brand or something that I could buy that is a stainless steel that has a cover on it, I could do that. I could do that. But I've seen police that, like the patrols that go through the beach, say, see somebody that's drinking a beer or whatever, and they'll go up to them and say, oh, you're going to have, and they have to open and pour it out and then put it back in their cooler and then take it to the trash can. That to
Wow.
me, it's like if you drop something in the sand, and I think we've gone in a going on it. I guess these are like my pet peeves when I go to the beach.
Tangent.
But if people were to drop something in the sand, it's not the same as when you drop something on your tile or you drop
Right.
something on cement. So anyway, just
Right.
something to think about if you want to help the environment. This is the way to
Right.
go. Okay.
And I understand poolside because it can smash on the tiles,
Sure.
but on the beach, it's not going to break.
No, no,
Anyway.
you're absolutely right. Okay, so now with the fact that we're talking about estrogen, is there a should we look at testosterone that way? Because men who have prostate cancer or a high PSA and want to maybe increase their testosterone with natural ways, or what do you call it, hormonal
Bioidentical?
yeah, bioidentical. That's the word. Thank you. Bioidentical hormones that mimic your own hormones. Is that something that someone that has maybe prostate issues or even cancer that has gone away, is that the same thing for the breast for estrogen that the prostate is for testosterone?
Okay, so with men, you could take something on a daily basis, even if you never had prostate cancer, right? You could take something called DHT block. It's actually currently out of stock, but it'll be back in stock soon. But any kind of thing that blocks estrogen is the same thing for men. If they're concerned about that, and certainly if they have had prostate cancer, they might want to be blocking it. Again, we need the estrogen, so you don't want to go crazy, but something that is just mildly, sitting on the helping to detoxify, because DHT block has the DIM and things in it, so it's a good product. But yeah, they could take something like that. Now the problem with bioidenticals is that creams are often better than the compounded formulas. And it's not that we don't trust our compounding pharmacists, but we really sometimes don't know just how much estrogen, how much progesterone, how much other hormones are going to be in there. So sometimes it's particularly for women with the estrogen and progesterone, the creams are a little bit better for the progesterone. In particular, very good for anybody who is estrogen dominant. You put a little bit on your wrist or on your belly, tiny little bit. And I want to talk about receptors about that in a second, but
and also absorption. I'd like to talk about absorption too when it comes to that, because I know the benefits of the cream is that it doesn't go through your GI system, but how do we know it's absorbing?
Well, I guess there's been enough studies that show that. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not going to rattle them off, but they say if in particular on the wrist or on the belly, if you're a woman, it's going to help it absorb well, and it also helps you sleep better if your hormones are whacked out. But
Yeah. Yeah. Especially with progesterone. So with a man, so I didn't mean so you're talking about the DHT block and
yeah, it's something called DHT block, and I would really recommend that for most guys to be taking that after a certain age in their life, because it's just one of the extra things that will help prevent. And if you've already been diagnosed, why not do that too, right?
yeah. And is that over the counter?
Yeah,
So it's called DHT block.
yeah. It's
Okay.
like I said, it's currently out of stock. There are
I
some
wonder
alternatives
why.
because of people like me are telling people like you to take it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to qualify this right now before we go any further. I'm not a doctor, folks. So anything I say, you need to do your own research and you need to make your own judgment. Speak with your doctor if you wish about it and make sure they can give you a qualified answer. Ignorance is not an answer. So if they don't seem like they have an answer for you, do your own research, because I cannot tell you not to take your prescription drugs that your doctors want to take you. I am only trying to inform you that you have choices and that you might want to do the research.
And you know what? That's a great disclaimer at the end of the class that we have always, always, always. And I always say, don't believe a word we're saying. Just be curious instead of critical. Do your own research, start your own, don't repeat what we say, make it your own truth by doing your own research. And you're not saying, oh, so-and-so said that you should do this. And so that's how we got into the trouble that we've gotten into the last 3 years, is repeating what social media wants you to say. And if I'm trying to sell a product, not that I would do something like this, but if I were a big corporation and I was trying to sell a product, I'm going to tell you all the wonderful things that it is. You've got to also research the good, the bad, the ugly, and then you make that own decision. As I heard Dr. Richard Horowitz say one time on my show, and I've adopted this forever, is be your own MD, your own medical detective. And that's the way that we get to take our life back, is to actually do our own research and not just repeat. So with that in mind, when you're dealing with these products are, we have to look for them, get them. So the DHT block, that's blocking estrogen, which is that the main reason men have
It's
prostate?
doing more than that.
Okay.
It's doing more than that, but it's like I said, I mean, I don't sell anything, but I, came across it and I give it to my husband, I give it to my children, my boys. I think it's a
Also,
great.
you can take this as a man, you can take this even if you don't have any prostate issues.
Yeah, because that's the idea. Prevention is better than anything else, but if you already have it, preventing it from going any further is also a very good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I highly recommend it. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do for prostate, and if anybody is listening to this show and they send me an email via my contact page and mention Lily's name, I can send you that prostate information.
Right. Wonderful. Wonderful. So you heard it here. You can go to elynjacobs.com, to her contact section, and start learning, get some information that you can read yourself. Now, before I wonder why we don't have this anymore, and people become aware. I think people are really seriously become aware that drugs aren't always the answer. Prescribed drugs aren't always the answer, that there are other things that we can do with lifestyle changes. We can do with just even adding water into our body is a good thing. Maybe switching plastic to glass or something simple like that. We can just start one step at a time. But before we went off on that beach and all that, I wanted to talk about the cream versus the oral. So with men that have prostate issues, the doctors do not want to give testosterone. So would the testosterone cream be good for someone that is concerned about cancer for the prostate or anything to that effect?
I mean, doctors are afraid to give you hormones in general. If you have a hormone-related condition, they're not going to give you hormones. I mean, a lot of doctors are the opposite. They're giving women estrogen. So you have to find the kind of doctor that's going to work with you. I can't really tell a person that they should or they should not do testosterone.
Sure.
I think that would,
But it won't. But just like estrogen doesn't hurt someone.
I mean,
would
I think
testosterone.
if they're going, sorry.
No, would testosterone do the same for a man?
Right, but the point is, you need to know your levels before you can just decide that you're going to add any
Sure.
kind of hormone
Good point. Mhm.
to you. In other words, if you are really, really estrogen dominant, and you say, "But I feel terrible. I want to take bioidentical estrogen." That's a very bad idea, perhaps.
Correct.
And we're finding that sometimes women with breast cancer say, "But I took bios all these years, and look where I ended up." And that's because it's not the right amount. So you need to work with a doctor. A person can't just tell you to take testosterone or estrogen or even progesterone, but most people are seriously deficient in progesterone. I mean, if you've had a miscarriage or you had really bad PMS when you were younger, you were probably always deficient in progesterone, but estrogen's a little trickier. Testosterone, these are all tricky things because, testosterone is a precursor they all make each other, work together and precursors. So you still need to know where you stand, because without that kind of data, I can't tell you to do it, that it would even be safe or a good idea or a bad idea.
What else do you need for us to know about estrogen that most people don't, especially with people that have had cancer?
Again, it's that they're not detoxifying their estrogen. They're not using it properly, and that there's so many natural substances that you can do that provide benefits, like people with high vitamin D levels, and this applies to everybody, not just women. High vitamin D levels are sort of like an aromatase inhibitor. They also, downregulate the estrogen receptors. So a lot of natural products do good, not just bad. Right? I mean, the drugs are just doing bad things to you. No one ever says, "Boy, this drug really feels so good taking this." And no, it's not happening with these aromatase inhibitors and tamoxifen. But there are natural substances that go after cancer cells. They inhibit estrogen. They they do a lot of things. I mean, even just something like leafy greens or cruciferous vegetables. These things are phenomenal. Even apples, they bind to the estrogen, make it big, help it out of its way out of your body. So there's natural things that we can do. And I think that's what people need to know, because when you've been diagnosed with hormone positive breast cancer, they automatically tell you that you've got to take these drugs. And I find it somewhat horrifying. So I think that that's the biggest thing that people need to know, whether you're a male or female. There are natural ways. Every guy should be on all kinds of prostate support supplements. I mean, you turn 40 or 50 years old, everybody knows that they're not happy, right? They've got all kinds of problems. Things get enlarged and they're uncomfortable and you're up all night. You need to support the prostate. So I can't stress it enough that when you start people young, saw palmetto, there's all kinds of really things. Beta-sitosterol, lycopene. There's no reason that anybody shouldn't be on these. And if you hate pills, then eat a lot of cooked tomatoes. Eat a lot of watermelon. That's going to give you your lycopene. So these supplements can make a big difference on your quality of life and your quantity of life. I mean, I know some of the healthiest people in the world who died of prostate cancer or other cancers.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other story that we would really should talk about, but it's not part of this conversation, but it's called emotional traumas. Things like, Lily's going to talk about the emotion code. I can't tell you how important that is, because you can be the healthiest person in the world, but if you have emotional traumas, I don't care if you've got estrogen. I don't care if you don't have estrogen. You can still end up with cancer. So really getting to the reasons for the cancer, which is not estrogen. It's not testosterone, it's not estrogen, it's not, it's none of these things. There's so many other factors that doctors don't even know to bring up with you. That's what's important, not estrogen.
Absolutely. And, Elyn hit the nail on the head. And when she started talking, she talked about other factors. Then she also mentioned stress. And I've got it written down because we're going to be talking about these other factors. And one of them in particular is the emotion. And so, as you know, on November 3rd and 4th, we have Dr. Bradley Nelson coming to beautiful Florida. And we're going to do both the emotion and body code, both of them a 2-day seminar in beautiful Cape Canaveral, Florida. And you'll get to work with this man who has traveled all over the world, teaching this technique to people, to be able to tap into your subconscious mind to release trauma without all the drama and the pain and anxiety that you think it's going to be. And so these are different ways to kind of chip away the layer of the onion, because it's not just one thing that got you sick. It's not like one morning you woke up and said, "Oh, I got cancer. No, it is a process that takes a long time. And it is a combination of the way you've lived your life, the way you think, the way you eat, the way you act, the way you drink, all these different things, environment, just you name it. And so not that this is about creating fear. This is about creating empowerment, that if you nip it at the thought, if you nip it like a prevention, then can you imagine what your life is going to be like? I just think that this is a great gift. And for all of you who work with me, where I'm your coach, you know that we spend a lot of time not just talking about it, but rewriting the story so that you are empowered through this, whatever experience it is that you've had. And so that is what we discuss here at whenyouneedafriend.com. That is the if you take everything that I've talked about, it's taking ownership, responsibility, but the word responsibility is not the same like blame, fault, shame, duty. It's not about that. It's about empowerment and freedom. And if you're ready to take that plunge and you have not subscribed to my channel, to my website, please do so, because little by little, this information is being suppressed. So eventually there's going to be one place where you're going to come find this information because it's being suppressed. So do whatever you can, share this video, share it with a friend, talk to your doctors. And if your doctor says this is crazy, then find another doctor and do your own research and decide what is best for you, what works best for you. When you're at whenyouneedafriend.com, please check out my sponsors. Support them the way they're supporting the classroom. Like and follow me on all social media. Share with your friends, as I said. And then you can go to my Shop Now bag. And in my Shop Now bag, these are all Lily approved products. This is from head to toe, things that you can do to eliminate the toxic overload, even create pain management without taking one pill. And so check out my little Shop Now bag. Check out the workshops that we've done in the past. If you're thinking about changing your lifestyle in any way, we've probably done a workshop with it. Workshops with Dr. Thomas Levy, workshops with Dr. Lee Cowden. So go check them out and start your journey to being your own MD. There's one last thing, MD, medical detective. So one last thing, you can become an enrolled student in the classroom, and whether it's $1 or $1,000 a month, the classroom is in need of help. Whatever you can give, whether it's your time, your talent, your treasure, a one-time donation, a reoccurring donation, whatever you can give will help the classroom grow, and use whatever we can to fight all the censorship that is happening today in the world and in social media. And so today we have Elyn Jacobs, cancer coach, who I absolutely love and I look to for information that I myself research before I use on myself and whatever it is that she's talking about. Do you ever, Elyn, and by the way, you can find Elyn at elynjacobs.com. And so do you ever take on any clients that don't have cancer? Maybe they want to make some changes in their life.
Absolutely. Some people call me their own personal ER, and I get urgent calls, but other people just want to make sure they've lost a friend or they've lost a family member to cancer, and they say, I don't ever want to see this, and what can I do? So we work on changing diet, maybe changing exercise habits, resolving the traumas. Again, the big thing, emotion code was a huge part of my healing. So we work together on those things. But I do want to go just with something that you said just now that I want people to understand. When you say go to another doctor, all medical doctors must prescribe the standard of care, which means if you have breast cancer or other cancer, they're going to tell you you need an aromatase inhibitor or tamoxifen. They have to. They can use a medical license. So unless you're working with a holistic doctor, or maybe a naturopathic oncologist, somebody like that, you're going to hear the same story. You can't ask for lemonade at an applesauce stand, or opposite, can't ask for applesauce at a lemonade stand. You're not going to get that. So you just know that going in, if you're going to be on your own, or you need to find somebody who can work with you and will understand that if it is your choice that you don't want to take a drug, that they understand it's your choice, and you say, I respect you, doctor. I understand it. I can't do it. It doesn't feel right to me. And they have the opportunity to say, well, what are you going to do? Like my doctor did. And he's like, great, fantastic. But they're one in a million. And sadly, he
Yes.
passed away. So otherwise, I would recommend him to everybody. He's great.
Well, you really lucked out. You really lucked
I
out
did.
because you were very assertive and strong. You saw what happened to your mother, and she was a great teacher for you. And so you decided to take your journey your way, and you learned a lot from that journey with your mom. And so
Which,
that's, go ahead. What were
yeah.
you No. So, sometimes things are presented in our life to save us. It may be difficult, but it is what it is. I always say that my mom has advanced dementia. And one of the reasons I'm so passionate about what I do is that I want to do everything I possibly can to prevent that in my life, not in a stressful way, but in a natural way. Not that I'm fearful that it's going to happen to me. It's that I'm doing because I saw what choices my mom made. And although my mom is 89 and she's lived a long life, she still has so much music in her. Now, my dad at 92, I'm seeing his decline. It's been a few years. And so I want to just like everybody, I just want to dance, go to bed, and not wake up. That's what I want to do. I want to be able to live as healthy. And Elyn, I get told this all the time. Oh, we're going to die from something. And I always say, yeah, we are going to die. But how do you want to live? How do you want to live? Those last years of my life, I want to live as graciously as possible. And I think that's everybody's desire, but we've got to do the things that will build to that desire as opposed to just wish it.
And one of those things is joy. If
Mhm.
you find joy in life, you tend to be a healthier person. And it's
Mhm.
not about living to 104 in a sick way. It's
Mhm.
about living to 92 in a really good way.
Mhm.
And it can be 104. But the idea is not always just the quantity of life. The quality of life is the most important thing. So yeah, we're all going to die of something, and we could all get hit by a truck tomorrow.
That's right.
But you might as well do what you can without reducing your joy. That no one's telling you to be a boring person or give up all your favorite foods. We're just telling you, small changes make big efforts.
That's right. That's right. So let's talk about the emotional component because we want to do things to get better, like take a pill, or we want to, do something to make us better. But the reality is sometimes we got to dig deep. And so how do you help your clients with the emotional trauma or emotional baggage that they refuse to look at?
The biggest thing I can do for them is point it out. And it was pointed out to me in 2007 by that infamous doctor, and he explained it to me. And so did a lot of healers that I worked with. All said the same thing. So after a while, clunk, clunk, it hits home and say, you've got to do this. So that's the best thing. I mean, I'm not a healer. I am not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. I can't, but I can point out to them. And then pretty much in the beginning of most conversations, they say, oh no, I had a wonderful childhood. Oh, my marriage is terrific. And then as you start to talk to them and talk about traumas, okay, so let's see, I was abused when I was 7. Like things start to come out and you say, okay, now we're getting someplace. You
Yeah.
need to work on that. And I can recommend doctors, I can recommend people, but I'm not the one that can do it. I'm just the person that says, you gotta do this.
You know,
You can
it's
say, right.
it's so much easier to work out, so much easier to drink water. It's so much easier to even eat better. But for some reason, going back, and I call it going back to the tomb, Elyn, which is, the genesis, like the person who in the story of Jesus after he was crucified, there's Mary going to the tomb to prepare the body, it was not a happy day. They're going to the tomb, and once they get to the tomb, once she got to the tomb, she saw that there was a resurrection. And so that to me is the same thing for people who are Christians or people who have like that story that they can relate to. The story is, yeah, it may not be a happy day in your life, but if we go back and we see that the beauty of it, the resurrection in it, the hope in it, that this happened to you so that it wouldn't happen to your children, or that this happened to you so that so like with my parents, I hate the fact that my parents are older and they're getting weaker and weaker. I hate that. But they're showing me where I have other people that are in their 90s that are just really, they have all their faculties about them. My mother-in-law, for example, going to be 92 years old. She can talk about everything and anything, and she still drives. And that's what I want for me. And so when we want that for ourselves, there has to be a consequence of behavior, or a series of behaviors that we need to do. So going there to visit is not just to bury a body. It is there to find the beauty in it. What good came out of something horrible? I think we can find it, but we must be willing to do it.
It's also about acknowledging, because a lot of people live in denial, because emotional traumas, you don't just forgive people. They're deep rooted in your subconscious. So you need help bringing them out. And that's what people need to know, that sometimes it's over your head. You need help to bring those things out, because you could say, oh, my childhood was great, because you suppressed it because it's too painful. So you need to bring those things to the surface, and somebody typically has to help you. The neat thing about the emotion code is it's easy. You don't really have to do any work. Some of the others, you have to do a little bit more work, and it's a little more time consuming, but the emotion code is quick and fast, and they cut the cords to whatever your problems are. I loved it, but I really enjoyed all of the therapies that I did. And I did a lot of them to test them out, so I could tell my clients, well, this is what this can do for you. This is what that can do for you. And, it was a full-time job in itself, but it was a research project too. Healing for me, and a research project for everybody else. But really to understand that, forgiveness is one thing, but subconscious does not forgive. So sometimes you need help to bring it out, whether it's hypnosis. There's so many EMDR, EFT tapping. There are so many things that you can do to bring to the surface and get rid of these monkeys on our back.
Yeah. Well, have you met Dr. Bradley Nelson?
I have not. I worked with one of his proteges,
Oh.
and she's the one that helped me. And it was, like I said, it was the first thing I'd heard. And I worked with her I still work with her. I mean, not work as in colleagues, but I guess we are sort of in a way, but mostly she was my helper.
Awesome. Well, November 3rd and 4th in Brevard County, Florida, Cape Canaveral near Cocoa Beach, Dr. Bradley Nelson. This will be our third event that we do with Dr. Brad and his wife, Jean. It is always very, very, it's always so joyful to see the connections that are being made. You mean, I can not only, because some of these traumas are not our own. Some of these traumas are handed down. They're fears that are handed down to us that we get to not only release for ourselves, but to release for the next generation, a release for the generation before. And that, I don't understand all of that, but all I know is that I accept it. And I remember the first time he did, he came on the show, and that's how the whole thing started. He actually did it on me, and I was so invigorated. And I said to Robert, I am ready to get rid of all this stuff, whatever it is that I didn't even know was in me. That's the key thing. Even if you don't know what it is, with the emotion code, sometimes you do need to go deeper, but sometimes you don't. It's as simple as making that decision. So before, because I mean, time has just flown, and I could just talk to you forever. What are some of the other things that we need to know about cancer? And one of the questions I had asked you, and I know that the answer is not going to be what we all want to hear, but I've been hearing more and more of stage 4 cancers, of people that had no symptoms whatsoever. And I'm thinking, is there a way for us? What can we do? A blood test? Can we do something to kind of keep our life in balance, to see that we are not heading towards disease, that we are in balance in our life?
Well, when you talk about symptoms, it's very complicated, because you don't want to, if you give somebody a list of symptoms, they'll manifest themselves to be sick.
Yeah.
So it's very important to not look at that. Of course, it's important to stay healthy and have a good mindset. Like we talked about joy, and definitely if you have the traumas, to remove the, to work on those. And as Lily was saying, we inherit these things. So just like you can inherit your blue eyes and your blonde hair or your brown hair, you inherit the traumas from the past. It gets in your DNA. It changes your DNA. So you have damaged DNA. So again, though, it's the environment that pulls the trigger. It's not the DNA damage that's going to do you in. It's the environment, and it's your own mental thoughts. It's all those other things that pull the trigger. It's not the bullet. So we want to do that. But symptoms. If you feel pain that doesn't make any sense, you go get checked out, right? That doesn't mean go get mammograms all the time. It doesn't mean go get MRIs all the time. You can do blood tests to give you some ideas, but in general say, hey doc, I don't feel good. Well, what doesn't feel good? Well, I got constant belly pain, or I got constant pain in my chest. Well, that could be a threat. It can be, lots of different things. So you do need to get checked out, and don't ignore them. I mean, I know people who they didn't know they had cancer, but they had tremendous back pain, or they had other pain, and they died soon after because they ignored it by the time they were diagnosed, they died soon after, but they ignored the pain for so long. If you have pain, if you're sitting there and you feel a lump, which you should be checking for lumps, check your neck, have your doctor check your neck. A lot of physicians now, you go to these wellness visits, they don't even touch you. They're not feeling to see if there's a problem with your thyroid or the glands. They're barely doing anything these days. So make sure you have a doctor that's actually checking to make sure that that everything is actually okay. And blood tests, they're not perfect. They give you so much information and relatively painless, right? Relatively risk-free for most people. So I say, listen to the blood test, listen to your body. If you constantly have a headache, something is wrong, right? If you constantly have belly pain, something is wrong. And so, but at the same time, we don't want anyone to sit there and say, every time one of the worst things that happens is once you've been diagnosed with cancer, every time you have an ache or pain, you're absolutely positive that the cancer is back. So we don't want that. We just want genuine things that don't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, get checked out, because it's a lot easier. I mean, just as many people die from stage 1 because they very quickly go to stage 3 or 4, and that's probably typically because of the chemo, the radiation, and the drug, like things that help spread it, including the surgery. So, it's not to say that catching it early makes you're going to live forever, but it is so hard to treat, to cure, I should say, stage 4 cancer. It's usually a very painful and difficult battle. So if we can get it at the earlier stages, when you feel something, you feel that lump, or you feel that something is wrong. I mean, your body is so smart. It tells you. I mean, we can ignore this. We can ignore it because sometimes that feels better to us. But if something feels off, go get it checked out. If you have recurrent heartburn, get it checked out. If you've been exposed to a lot of toxins, you worked in a nail salon or in a building that was loaded with asbestos, or go get checked out. Make sure that, everything is good while while it's early stages or pre-stages, and maybe just changing your diet and removing some traumas and putting some healthy foods that you might not have eaten before, or a couple of supplements, maybe some other therapies. It goes a long way. So that would be my advice.
Well, great advice. Great advice. Thermography, real quick. We got about 3 minutes left. Thermography, is that something a better option than mammograms?
None of these things are perfect. I'm not a believer in mammograms. Sure, they catch a lot of cancers. They also catch things that wouldn't become cancer. So then a person is overtreated.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing for thermography. It doesn't catch everything. No. Does it maybe make a person panic? But at the same time, it's a good thing. It's not typically covered by insurance, so you probably have to pay out of pocket. But there's pros and cons to all of those testing. But certainly, I'd rather see you do thermography than a mammogram or an MRI with all that.
But use it responsibly. Like people that have DNA testing and they have the BRCA gene, they go and remove their breast like Angelina Jolie did. But what they're not talking about is 50% that have positive BRCA gene or BRCA gene positive, they don't get cancer. So nobody studies the people that don't get cancer. So we've got to have that mindset of that protection, that we do the right things to make sure that we are joyous and eliminate disease in our body.
Well,
So,
a 30-second on the BRCA, things like that. Okay, so again, there's no gun to your head saying that your BRCA is going to cause that. But what is an eye opener to you to say, okay,
yeah.
What can I do to prevent getting this? Let me work on the traumas. Again, estrogen is not, and if you take off your breasts, there are receptors all over your body. So, okay, so why don't you take your lungs and your liver out, and let's take all your skin off, because that's an organ too. So
Yeah.
why don't we remove the brain, because cancer goes to your brain. So maybe we should remove them. Then we have
fear. It's all about fear.
Fear is why they take the breasts off or the ovaries out, and that's not going to make a big. What you knew, if you are diagnosed with BRCA, make sure that you're taking really good care of yourself and remove all of the reasons that you could get that would accelerate or manifest into a particular cancer.
Absolutely. Use that DNA as a prevention tool, as a what could possibly go wrong if I were to just be irresponsible with my body and life. And so, Elyn, I'm just so grateful that you are still coaching people. If you want to learn more about Elyn Jacobs, go to elynjacobs.com. She also had mentioned that she has a flyer or a handout, and I hope you send it to me as well. I guess because I'm already a part of your list. So reach out to elynjacobs.com and get your information and start doing your research. Elyn, thank you so much. You could have been anywhere.
Really,
You
one
were here
quick
with
second.
me. Okay.
I do have the handouts are estrogen and detox. So if they mention your name and you go through my contact page, those are the other two, not just the prostate.
Oh, okay. No, anything. So they need to mention what they want?
Well, I'm offering the three. It's
Okay.
prostate, estrogen, like alternatives, like estrogen handout, and also detoxification. So if
Wonderful.
you go to my website and mention Lily's name, then you'll get it for free.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Elyn.
Great.
Thank you so
for
much.
having me.
Yes, absolutely. We'll have to do it again pretty soon, not 2 years. So,
Okay.
And please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott and Elyn Jacobs, wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any